Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Did you guys all share the show while the intro was playing? Because I forgot to tell you to do that.
I can do it right now.
I know Oliver did it.
Totally remembered.
Yep. Okay. Just checking. I, first of all, want to thank all of you for being here. I am so excited for this, and I've been wanting to do it literally since day one. So thank you guys. I'm hoping to actually make this like a monthly or every 6-week thing and just have a panel of guys on here, because obviously I don't know what it's like to be in your shoes. And I think it's super important that people understand it. So this is the first of hopefully many shows with an amazing panel of gentlemen. Let's go in order of the people on the screen. Scott, you want to do your introduction? Just tell people who you are.
Hi, everybody. My name is Scott McCafferty. I actually am a licensed mental health therapist with 11 years in the field, working primarily with men and at-risk youth.
Awesome.
Not sure what else you wanted.
No, that's perfect. I mean, that was even extra, but that's fine. I think it's important to explain that too.
Hi, I'm Tommy. I don't really have much of an introduction to give. Work in a factory. I have mental health problems. I'm just honored to be here tonight with everybody. Thank you.
You forgot the most important part, that Tommy and I are actually birthday buddies. We have the same birthday.
Yes.
Lily?
I'm David Woolever. I'm the stupid guy in charge of all of this stuff sometimes. And I'm a bundle of mental health joy.
Yay.
And I'm John Ward. Not a mental health professional, but I have had my struggles with it, and I've managed to kind of bounce back, and excited to be on. I think this is a great show that you're doing, Denise, and I'm excited to talk with everybody.
Thank you. Okay, so my first question, everybody obviously doesn't know because you weren't on the group message, but I sent a group message out to all of these guys, and without question, all of them just said, yes, I will do it. So I want to know what made you say yes so quickly.
Are we starting in order again?
If whatever you want to do.
Shit.
Let's go backwards order this time. John, you're first.
Oh, I'm first. Oh, man.
Don't say.
There's the anxiety. No, like I had said earlier in the introductions, I think it's great what you're doing here, and just being able to talk about mental health problems. Anybody that's friends with me or super close with me on Facebook, they know some of the struggles I've been through, and they've been able to watch my journey and kind of come around on the other side of it. And I've had numerous people reach out saying how I've motivated them, and it's a good feeling. So I want to be able to try to help wherever I can, and I think this is a good platform for it.
Awesome. David?
Are we going in reverse? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I say yes because I say yes to most things Denise asks me. But more than that, especially since COVID, I have been just through the ringer emotionally and mentally over the last 3 years, and been trying to work a lot on the mental health side of things with my wife and with family and friends. And so I figured I could come on and at least talk about it a little bit.
Awesome. Tommy?
I said yes because I myself struggle with mental health. I have my good days, my bad days. I'm blessed to have a beautiful circle of friends who have witnessed, my ups and my downs, and who are with me and encourage me. Men's mental health, mental health in general for men, women, and children needs more done in this country and stuff. But there's always that stigma with the men, especially like people our age who were kind of like that last generation born on, with the old idealistic ideas, just the old school way of thinking. And men are supposed to like tuck everything down and not be can't cry and all that kind of nonsense and stuff. So I thought it would, it's just nice to raise more awareness of it and to hear other, gentlemen who share, maybe we don't have the same struggles or whatnot, or, the same past, but, we share, mental health issues or whatnot. And it's nice to see what other people do to, get through the bad days and the darkness sometimes, I'm just, I'm very honored to be here. Honored to be here with all of you guys. So thank you very much.
You're amazing. Scott,
for me, this has been kind of a passion of mine for a while. I too also have a very difficult personal mental health history. I've struggled a lot with depression. When I was a teenager, I actually attempted my life a couple times, which a lot of people that don't know me or know me really well are just finding out. It was kind of shocking to them. And as I've worked in the field for all this time, it's like I see a lot of things you guys are describing, especially with like the stigma and I don't know, I've seen it from like a personal perspective. I've seen it from a professional, and this is just a topic that I think needs to be discussed more. And I think the way that society is going, it's kind of trying to push men's issues down. And that should be the exact opposite of what we're doing, because it's getting worse, like across the board. Any statistic you look at, like the mental health for men it's getting really bad. So that's why I was excited, because this is just near and dear to my heart, both professionally and personally. So I love the fact that you're doing this.
And especially, I focus a lot on men's mental health because I'm raising 3 men. Okay. Obviously, it's not because I can understand it from a personal standpoint, but I understand the importance of it because I am bringing children, I have children that are being brought up in this world. So it's important to me. I find it absolutely atrocious that women's mental health is at its peak in terms of focus and attention. There's all these things that focus on, self-care and, if you're having a bad day, take the day off for a mental health break. And, there's so much focus on women doing these things. And there's all these like spa packages and, take care of your mental health. But then men are still being told to suck it up, don't cry, you're man up. I hate that phrase so much. I'm sure you guys can appreciate that. Even little kids on a t-ball field are told to man up, like don't cry. First of all, if you're in physical pain, I don't understand why crying is a big deal, but it's infuriating to me that people don't see the hypocrisy.
Well, it's not even not seeing the hypocrisy. You have some areas that are actually fighting against it. Like I got into a topic, and I'm sorry if this is derailing a little bit, but I got into a conversation with somebody who I know talking about men and college numbers and enrollment in college. And there's these colleges now that are starting to do programs like affirmative action programs to get white men into school, because they're not, like, historically they're falling behind. Like there's nowhere near as many as used to enroll, and now they're an extreme minority. And there's an actual movement saying, well, white men have had enough, or men have had enough. Like, we need to stop doing that. Like, they don't deserve to have help like that. It's like, screw them is essentially like the mindset. And it just boggles my mind that anybody would want to let any group of people suffer regardless of who they are or what their background is. It just, and that's completely antithetical to everything that we've been trying to do as a society, as far as I'm concerned anyway.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I didn't know anything about the college numbers, but I can definitely see it. It seems like men are not allowed to have an opinion about anything. And if they do, they better just keep it to themselves. They're not allowed to say or feel anything. And it's so heartbreaking, because I have children who are 9 to 19 years old, and that's what they're going into. That's what they're going into, and I hate it. And I'm looking, okay, here's what I need from you guys. What do you think? And you guys can take turns in whatever order you want. What do you think can even be done at this point?
I think we just need to have conversations. Obviously, you're not going to be able to force the issue on everybody, but in small pockets, I mean, that can still go a long way. Just start talking about it. I know, like I said, over the last 3 years, it's been a roller coaster ride for me, but even just having the ability to open up to like my wife and my parents about some things, like I grew up with the same kind of mentality. Like I'm just supposed to keep my head down and keep going, get the job done, don't whine, just do what you got to do, be the man. And that was it. I mean, that was the way my dad was raised. That's how I got raised. And it's only been literally probably in the last 3 years that I've even been able to confront any of that stuff. So if as long as we keep talking about it, I think we can gain more and more ground to where we have an equal, at least, you don't want to say like a plateau, but we can get somewhere to where we can all be talking about this. Because like you said, it's not just the women that have all these problems. Men have been bottling this stuff up for years because they didn't think they had anywhere to take it.
Yeah.
So if we can just gain a little ground at a time, it's got to do something.
Okay. Can I show you guys? Sorry, I know you guys can answer in a second too, but I want to show you this TikTok, and I've showed it on the show before, so you may have seen it, but this is exactly what you're talking about, Wolliver. Well, okay, just watch this.
Be honest, who do you call when you are at your lowest? Who is that one person?
Nobody. I'm a man. No one cares.
Not a single soul. Nobody.
No one. Because I'm all alone.
I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that I don't call anyone.
Nobody. I'm a guy. Nobody gives a shit.
Speaking for the guys when I say this, literally no one.
Y'all call someone?
Nobody. Just nobody. Got no one to talk to, so nobody. Who cares? Nobody.
No one. I'm a man. No one cares.
No one. Not a single fucking person.
I wouldn't call anyone. I wouldn't turn to a single person on this earth because they don't care. They will just find a way to use it against me one day.
We can call somebody?
Like, how heartbreaking is that?
A lot, very much.
Accurate.
And that's what you're talking. I mean, like, maybe the first conversation needs to be just letting people know, like, hey, I'm here if you want to talk to me. Because you're right, people are just bottling shit up, and it doesn't do anything except raise the numbers on a terrible chart that we don't want to talk about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It needs to be.
And it leads to more, anger issues. It leads to the depression and those like suicidal thoughts. I know it was 29 years before I decided I needed to at least say something to even my wife. So, yeah.
What do you guys think? What do you think can be the first step to making it better?
I think, man, it's so tough because I'm still in that mindset where I just bottle things in and just keep pushing along. But I try to find healthy ways to get around it. But in terms of what we can do to just being able to talk about it with friends, like even wives, like David said, or guy friends, right? Like my wife jokes around all the time, like, what do you talk about with your guy friends? It's never what's bothering us. It's never what's going on in our lives. We talk about sports. We trash talk each other. We just try to have fun. We joke around, but we always stuff down, what's really going on in our lives, what's bothering us. And, just, it feels wrong to talk about it. And I don't know if that makes sense, but I think just being able to have those open forums, whether it's with, your wife or just your guy friends even. So.
I know for me, like growing up, I probably could have used like a psychiatrist and stuff, but like in our family, that was like a sign of weakness. So I wasn't offered that. And so I went down like that cliche road of like drugs and alcohol and all that kind of nonsense, for a very long time. And so when I hit about 28 or so is when I started like sobering up. And that's when I realized I had to address like whatever issues were get to the root of it, and started like going to AA and counseling and stuff like that. And like AA wasn't really my cup of tea, but it gave me some tools that I took. Everything that I've done, if it wasn't my cup of tea, it at least gave me some tools to carry along with the journey. And I started going to counseling, and I'm blessed to have some solid dudes I've known for like 20 years, and like they're there for me now, and they were there for me then, and wish they would have known before. But one of the greatest things that I did for myself was, and I've really been slacking on it lately, I found a beautiful yoga place, and they were very accepting. And I could call like I met with it. I got like there's like a good dozen people like my age, older ladies, and just beautiful souls, So I'm very fortunate. But like sometimes, with the mental health issues and stuff, you get in dark spots more than you want to, and like you feel like a burden sometimes when you call them. So like then you don't call anyone, then you just put yourself in like a hole, you just kind of like yourself, and like, and I do that a lot, and it's it's a hard thing to break, but it's amazing if you could find one or two people that are solid with you, just to be able to talk to, that'll give you an ear or a shoulder to cry on. But I know one thing for me was finding a beautiful place that kind of kept my shit straight,
Yeah. I think that's so important. And I don't know about you guys, but I tell people all the time, call me if you need anything. I don't care if it's the middle of the night, if you just need to talk, if you need to vent, whatever. I'm there for you. And I 100% mean it. If somebody were to call me and just be like, hey, I need 10 minutes. Can I just cry? Absolutely. Like, what do you want to talk about? No judgment. Call me anytime. But then when I'm stuck in a funk, I won't call anybody, because I'm the same way. I'm like, oh, I don't want to burden them with my problems. So it's so important to find somebody who you're not going to be a burden to. And sometimes, okay, if you notice that your friend hasn't reached out in a while, you haven't talked to them in a while, they're not doing the things that they want to, then maybe just call them and be like, hey, what's going on? Because chances are they're just in a funk and they're not calling anybody because they don't want to burden them. Betty loves you, Tom.
She's amazing. She gives the best hugs.
Does she? Is she from the yoga place?
Yes, she's amazing.
That's awesome. I mean, that's good. So, okay, what do you guys, Scott, Dave, John, what do you guys do to, if you're not going to go and talk to somebody, what do you do to try to help, like, get out of a funk?
Most of the time I just dive into work. Depending on the time of year, fall, winter time, I am, covering high school sports just about every other day of the week. So if I'm really down in the funk, it's just, what, don't worry about it. Just focus, get this done. We can worry about it later, which is not the healthy thing.
I don't know that fixes the problem.
Doesn't ever fix the problem, but that's just what I've been used to for so long. But here recently, I've been able to, turn on the PlayStation, have a little fun for a half hour, an hour, and just let my mind do all the thinking it needs to do. I'll reach out to some friends I haven't heard from in a while just to see how they're doing. That can give me a little bit of a boost. Or just see what people are up to and, go walk at the park or go just take a cruise around town. Just little things.
Awesome. John. Oh, Scott, you can go ahead.
No, it's okay. John can go.
Okay. I mean, it's always different too. It really just depends on the level of what I'm dealing with. If I'm just upset over little stuff like work and stuff, like I'll go to the park and walk and try to clear my head. In the past, what really helped me get through the depressive state that I was in actually was boxing. And my dog, ironically, both of those combined at the same time kind of saved my life a few years ago. I mean, that was like 2 years ago, but yeah, now I'm at a better place, but I would like to say that writing would be a way for me to escape, but I know my head wouldn't be clear enough to write. So yeah, I think physical fitness is the best way for me to get around it. But a lot of cases, it just kind of burns it off and it comes back. So you got to learn how to deal with it internally as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that I always recommend and things I always do is it's like natural instinct when you become overwhelmed with emotions to be destructive. Punch something, hurt something, yell at somebody. Like that's like natural instinct. But the stuff that actually works and that carries over is to be creative. So I always think that doing something that is creating something from nothing is like the best, because you have absolute control over it. You have absolute say over whatever it is it's going to look like. You can give yourself license to make it whatever it is that you want. And that's why for me, writing has always been one of my go-to things. Like I've always loved writing. I've always done nothing but writing. Like it's just, I've done that as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the cool techniques I learned, actually, I didn't learn it from a therapy class. I learned it from a writing class. And I love this. So if anyone's ever like feeling like emotionally numb or feels like they can't get anything out, here's a little trick. Pull up on a computer or a laptop, like a Word software program, like Microsoft Word or whatever the case may be. Get yourself all nice and comfortable and crack your knuckles, light a candle, do whatever you want to do. But then right before you start writing, turn the monitor off or block it in some way so you can't see it. And the reason why that works is because when you go through your day, you don't think about all the different things that block you from thinking about stuff that's going on in your life. There's always like even when you're writing, you're thinking about, okay, I got to worry about punctuation. I got to worry about wording. I got to worry about this. When you turn the monitor off, you're letting like unfiltered thought come out. Like it's complete, like your subconscious is talking to you, and it's fantastic. Anyone that I've ever known that has done this, 9 times out of 10 will find at least 2 things on their mind that they never even realized were bothering them, but it's actually like deeply buried in them. And then once you have it, now you can face it, and it gives you kind of some power to deal with a little bit, because now you can put a name to it. So those are the 2 things that I always recommend, that I always do when I feel like I can't go to anyone.
I love it. So let me ask you guys something, because I've talked to my husband about this. We had a friend who was having problems like in his marriage or whatever. And I asked my husband, I said, well, what's going on with them? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, you spend all this time with him. Like, what did he say is going on? And he said, he didn't say anything. I'm like, what do you guys talk about? And he's like, nothing. We just make fun of each other. So what do you think your friends would do if you just walked into a party and you were like, when somebody asked you, how are you doing? And you said, I've been super depressed lately. How do you think people would respond to that with you being a guy? I know if I said it, people would be like, oh, let's talk about it.
Being a guy. No, go ahead.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying, in my experience, if you come into a social situation like that, party or just a social gathering, a lot of times people are going to want to distance themselves from you. They don't want to deal with it, and they're gonna stay away. That's my personal experience. I don't know if Scott or Tommy or Dave are going to share that same thought, but that's just kind of how it appears historically.
See, I don't know how they react, but I know what I'm afraid how I'm afraid they're going to react, and it's pity. And I'm scared to death of like doing something like that and then being met with pity. Like nothing would like shame me or make me more like feel awful. Just my opinion. So my assumption, it would be something that would then make me feel bad for sharing it. Like you're bringing the mood down, like you're tearing down stuff. Even though they wouldn't say it, I would automatically assume it's implied.
So is that part of the reason why you don't talk to people about stuff?
For me personally, yes.
Yeah.
I know for me, I'm sorry. For me, like, if I'm, not doing well or I'm in a dark spot or something, I tend not to really go anywhere, because the people I know, like, can tell, like, if my light's not shining like it normally is, or they could see something off in my eyes. But like I said, I've got some good people, so if I do go hang out with like some of my, like a couple of my buddies or something, they usually know instantly if like something's going on with me. And over the years, they've been more than willing. When they see that, they ask me, do we need to sit down and talk? What's going on? Or they're very accommodating, I guess, if that's the right word, I guess. And then like with like my yoga peoples, like they usually know dead on, like if something's going funky with me, like if they don't hear from me, or they could just, you know, see by my energy or whatnot or something like that. And these people are really, you know, angels and godsends for me. You know, like I've been very blessed in the past like 8-10 years or so to have really been able to surround myself with like very caring people. And like growing up and stuff, I never really had anything like that, you know. So like it's very nice, but it's weird though too, because when you're not used to stuff like that, you know, like it's foreign, you know, to some of us who, you know, travel down weird roads or whatnot. But yeah, like I'm not, you could like usually like I usually like distance myself if I'm, you know, in a funk or whatnot. I try not to. I don't know. I just, you know, I don't know. Weird.
That makes
Sorry.
sense.
I do that too. I distance myself a lot when I get like that.
Same.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I do it too, so I really can't say anything, but I just hate that anybody feels that way. You know, I hate that anybody feels like they don't have somebody to talk to. And I know, you know, I know you guys personally. I know that there are people, because we have the same mutual people in most cases, that would be there. So it is super important. Just reach out if you are feeling in a funk. I am here all the time. And a lot of times if I'm in a funk too, then, you know, if you message me and you're like, I hate everything, then I might just be like, hey, me too. But sometimes it's important to even hear that.
Most definitely.
Oh, Sam said I can speak to my 25-year-old husband's experience of sitting down with another coworker at lunch talking about anxiety. It was honestly a bonding moment for the two of them. And that gives me a little glimmer of hope. I also introduced daily check-ins with my husband, so the regular exposure definitely helps make it seem like the norm in our household now. With that being said, he grew up in a traditionally Hispanic family, so it's fairly new to him. Yeah. As well as I'm happy that it's spilling into work, I think. Yeah, it's definitely, I think for most people, it's a foreign concept to discuss mental health, especially for guys. But, you know, it was always, you know, I'm sure you guys can relate. When you're crying when you were little, it was, I'll give you something to cry about. It wasn't like, hey, I see you've got some big emotions going on. Let's sit down and talk about it, you know? So I'm trying with my boys. I'm not trying to make them weak. Okay, let me just specify that just in case my husband's watching. I'm not trying to make them weak. I'm trying to make them understand that the things that they are feeling are normal and that it doesn't need to turn into anger, you know, because like Scott said, it you know, things turn into hitting things and punching things and throwing things and screaming, you know. So I feel like it's so important. People want to talk about toxic masculinity and how men are so toxic and angry and whatever. Well, yeah, no shit, because when they're telling you that they're feeling unappreciated, you called them a little bitch. And you know what I mean? Like, why would you not be angry? I feel like it's acceptable. It's not acceptable, but it's like the norm for guys to be angry, right? Like that's something that not is okay, but is like a normal emotion according to society. But then guys aren't allowed to feel like depressed or self-conscious or anything else. Like, why do we not focus on those ones? Why can't we? I don't know. Why can't we just let them feel that way instead of saying man up or calling them a bitch or calling them a bunch of different words? It's so infuriating. And honestly, I don't know how you guys do it. This is my applause to you for not getting angry all the time.
I handle it just by being big and giving looks.
Yeah, that's true.
I've developed a very sarcastic sense of humor. So that's like a very dark sense of humor. That's kind of my way.
Yeah. Okay. From a psychology standpoint, that's okay, right?
Yes
I
and
get
no.
a lot
It
of shit
depends.
for that.
It depends. There is with anything. There's limits to it. If it gets to be the point where it's like destroying everyone around you, then no, it's not helping you at all. A lot of what I do is, and this isn't necessarily healthy either, but a lot of my sarcastic stuff is I start poking fun at myself because I know, I know I can shrug that off, and it's easier than taking a shot at somebody else and they're not realizing I'm joking, or taking a joke too far, which, guys, we do that sometimes. Maybe I just do that. I don't know. Confession time.
Yeah.
But I do that because it's just easier.
Yeah. Which, you're right, is also not healthy. I was just watching something that says that all the negative self-talk, whether you're joking or not, starts to stick in your brain, and that's what you start to believe. Scott.
Yes. And that's the compassion fatigue, because then you're afraid of, because you don't want to offend anybody else by joking around, especially nowadays.
Right.
Like, where guys like to mess around. Well, I'll tell you, like, the last 11 years, I've worked in a very female-dominated field. Like, in my graduating class in my grad school for my current license, I was one of 5 guys out of a group of 90 people that graduated. Like, there's not a lot of men that work what I'm doing. So it's like, I got to get really, no offense to the ladies out there, but I had to get really good at, I can't, fuck her. Sorry. I swear like a sailor. I hope that's not a problem. No. But I screw around all the time with the guy friends, like making jokes and stuff like that. It's like, I can't do that. So I'm always on guard with how I have to behave and how I have to do stuff. So it's like, I'm extra cautious now about not being too much of a guy, because God forbid that offends somebody. If that makes sense.
Gosh. It unfortunately does make sense.
And most of the women, like the vast majority, it has never been a problem, but it only takes one to ruin a career.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? Maybe we're not on this topic, but my brain, ADHD kicked in, and I'm going to bring up another topic. So the double standards, and I'm a girl, so I'm going to go ahead and say this because I can, and you guys would get in trouble if you say it, but the double standards piss me off more than anything. Okay, if you say there's a girl on Instagram and she posts a picture of herself in a bikini, and a guy says, looking hot. Oh, you will have all these women. Oh, you're a disgusting pig. All this other. Yes. Calling your employer, getting you fired, like all this other shit. I challenge everybody. Go look at a picture of Jason Momoa, Aquaman.
Every day.
Standing there with no shirt on, and look at the disgusting comments that are on there, right? You would be appalled at the things that women will say. Another one, strip clubs. Don't even get me started.
Bandales.
Guys are not allowed to even talk to the girls. They're not allowed to touch the girls, whatever. You would be so disgusted. I went to a male review for a friend's bachelorette party. I spent the entire night outside. It is so disgusting. The things that women will say to these men and do to these men, but it's a double standard. You know what I mean? Like, and we're expected, if we have a bad day, if I have a bad day at work, my husband should be giving me flowers and rubbing my feet and running a bath for me. But if your husband has a bad day, he's supposed to just shrug it off and don't mention it. You know what I mean? It's the double standards are so disgusting when it comes to men and women in most aspects. I probably should not make you guys talk about that. We can change the subject.
I think the silence is agreement.
Because I know that you guys can't say anything, but I just want you to know I am just one girl, but I'm on your side, and I see it, and I hate modern feminism and everything that it stands for, because I feel like it's just meant to destroy you guys. And I see that, and I do speak out about it. I will call people out on social media when, like the Jason Momoa post and all of the disgusting things that these women say. Like, nobody ever thinks about what if the roles were reversed. And I think that we need to start thinking about that again in pretty much every situation.
Kind of real quick, kind of going on the feminist topic. And I was debating with myself for a while if I was even going to mention this, but I've had arguments with other professionals, so I'm going to throw it out there, and if I get heat, so be it. I think one of the unintentional consequences to feminism is, and no, I don't think anyone would disagree that there's been a lot of, gains because of it. Okay. I don't think anyone would disagree with it. But I think the problem is when you have men that have traditional roles of going to work, raising family, being the caregiver, yada, yada. And then you tell them, well, that's not just your role anymore. We're going to let all women do that too. Oh, and by the way, they can do the parenting and they can do this and they can do that. We spend all this time empowering women to do these different things, but we never spent any time on the other side of the equation of saying, okay, men, now what's your identity going to be? Okay, now what is the role of having a guy or a father in there? And then you look at all the things that have changed from the time frame from the last real good wave of feminism, like 1960s roughly, to modern times. And again, you look at all the statistics and men really aren't doing that great. They think we are, but highest rates of suicide, highest rates of violent suicide, falling behind in college, mostly incarcerated. Like there's a lot of ways that men aren't doing so hot. And a lot of it is because in, divorce rates and parents not being involved or fathers not being involved. It's like, well, where did we ever spend time helping them figure out what we're all supposed to be and what our role is? And now what few things we do have are all toxic. I hate that fucking phrase. I'm sorry.
I know.
Toxic masculinity. You want to get me on a rant? I'm trying to behave myself.
Do it.
No, I will go off and it will be bad. But that's what I think of where, again, is the unintended consequence of feminism is we didn't really give men or talk with men about what that's going to be. And I think in a lot of ways as a society now, I don't think we're necessarily mature enough as a whole to have those conversations.
No.
But I don't know, that's my personal opinion. So feel free to disagree.
No, I agree. And I think that since when is it toxic for somebody to hold a door for you? You know what I mean? Like,
I got slapped once for that.
I'm not trying to get your phone number because I see you might struggle with this particular thing.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, you'll see like videos of a guy holding a door and a woman's like, I could hold the fucking door myself. Like, I hold doors for dudes. It's about being courteous. It's not like, that's not toxic. If I hold the door for somebody, it's, oh, thank you, but if you do it, then it's, again, the fucking double standards. Yeah. Sam says extremes aren't good on either side. That's part of the societal issues. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I will preface this by saying I am a firm believer in women's empowerment. I actually held a huge event a few years ago where I hosted nothing but women-owned small businesses. And I wanted the community to be introduced to these women so that they can see the people behind the business, whatever. I'm not like anti-feminism. I'm anti-current feminism. I 100% agree that women should be lifting each other up. Okay. I'm going to say that. But that doesn't mean that in turn you should hate men. You know what I'm saying? My husband and I are a partnership. Where he's good at things, he's pretty much good at everything, but where I have downfalls, he is there to pick me up and we are a good team. That's the point, right? I don't understand when that stopped being a thing. I don't think that I should do everything myself, and I feel like that's what feminism is about. Like, I don't need no man. I do. I need my husband. He balances me out. We're a team. We do everything together. And I'm not ashamed to say that I need him. And I feel like we need more of that.
Yeah, I agree. That's the mentality we need. It's like you should be looking at a relationship as being a team effort. I love that because my wife and I, we work at that all the time. Yes, we have our downs and ups, but in general, like we try to do everything from the same front. And I completely agree. That's the mindset. And I don't know why that's not the case.
Yeah. I feel like feminism is just like hating men. And I wish that would stop because
it's New Ages. Sorry.
Yeah. They see that. You know what I mean? And children are seeing that. All of these influencers and these celebrities and everything else who are sitting there saying that all men are toxic and blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? You have little boys watching that. And those little boys are going to grow up thinking
they're going to turn into the next alpha.
Yes. Is that a term that you like, Dave?
No. Not at all.
Preach on, brother.
I'm gonna go alpha. I'm gonna go alpha on some alphas if they don't shut the hell up.
It's frustrating. Dave, you probably get it a lot too, just because like you're bigger than my husband, and my husband gets it all the time because he's a big guy. People just assume, you know, that you're trying to be some alpha. You're like the sweetest person I've ever met.
I'm gonna be one if you say something off the wall to me, but otherwise, it takes a lot for me to get really upset. And once you've gotten to that point, like there's no return.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's
fair. I tend to love everybody.
Yeah.
Until you make me mad.
I'm glad I never made you mad. But he used to get that all the time at you know, he'd go to the bar and people would just want to start a fight with him just because he was the biggest guy at the bar.
I had bouncers at a bar in Athens when I was in college. They noticed me walk in. They had a problem about an hour later, and one of them came to find me.
That's an awesome story. I'm not gonna lie. I went to OU too. Which bar was it? I'm curious.
Oh, it was. I don't even think it's still around. It used to be called 19 South.
Yeah, I think that one's gone now.
Yeah.
That's
funny. It was either that one or Lucky's for the bounce in between. But
I can't even imagine. Oh, this is my mother-in-law. She said, "I've raised 2 fine sons and very proud of the family men they are." She's not lying. My husband and his brother are both phenomenal. And actually, speaking of being a team, he is also like 100%. He does every day when he comes home, he does something for the house. He always takes care of the kids. Okay. You know what drives me crazy is like if I go somewhere, say I go to a ghost hunt or I go on a girls' weekend, not that I do that, but you know, I go somewhere and people will be like, well, who's watching the kids? What? Their father? That's a thing.
Like it's completely out of the realm of possibility.
Yep.
Right? Like, why do we assume that fathers can't take care of their kids? Like, oh my God, you're leaving them home alone with the kids for a whole weekend?
Because it's sitcoms.
You think?
Seriously, sitcoms. What positive male father or male role model can you think of on a sitcom? They're always fat. They're always bumbling. They're always stupid. They always drink way too much. The wife is always like ridiculously hot by comparison. Like always watch them. It's all the same thing every time.
That's true. Oh my gosh. It's so ridiculous. Maybe we need to work on a sitcom where actually probably nobody would watch it. Where it was like a hands-on father who knows what the fuck he's doing. Nobody would watch it. That's true. Now I'm like thinking of all the family sitcoms.
Or would it be too offensive?
It might be.
You're saying the father's doing that better than the mother. It's like, no, we're just saying this is a strong male. Well, no, sorry.
I'm so over it. No, listen, you can rant because that's absolutely what this is for. It's just so frustrating. And I don't understand what we can do to get past it. And I do think that having conversations like this is super important. And I think that it's very hard because it's very hard to speak out on anything these days. It seems like rational thinking is something that doesn't exist anymore. And extreme emotions are just out of control lately. But I think that it's important for people to point things out when they see it. You know, if somebody needs, I don't know, just everything. I feel like people need to stop being so silent about things. You know, and if people are attacking somebody for no reason just because they are a man or they are a good father or whatever, I just wish that people would speak out about it and stop making it normal to treat men that way. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't know, maybe it's time for men to take, if men took that protector role and broadened it, I guess, outside of just your significant other, your family, extend that to your friends, extend that to strangers. We don't have to just be this big, dumb ape, blah, 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 blah. Just reach out and be there for everyone.
Yeah. And I think it's on women as well. Mostly women, actually. I think that we need to be standing up. There's a lot of men who fought alongside of women in the recent feminism, whatever demonstrations. I think that it's time for women to stand up and fight for men. I think we need to speak out, whatever ones of us have common sense left, and understand that you can't just destroy somebody because of the organs that they have. Then we all need to be standing up. All of the women need to be standing up for the men. And I hope that everybody finds somebody who they understand is on their side, because I know that it seems like everyone is against you. I don't know that. I can imagine that. But hopefully it will become normal soon for people to just say, hey, I'm here if you want to talk about anything. Sam says you're just describing equality. I wish. Yeah, I feel like this is just a show of me saying all the things that you guys can't say, but I got you. I feel like the fight for equality, for women to be equal, made it so that men are not equal anymore. And I don't think that's fair.
Instead of having two totem poles at the same height,
yes,
we've dug the ground a little deeper.
Yeah, or just kicked one of them over. Yeah. If we're being honest.
So I gotta say this too, Denise. Just the fact that you even have to say that as like a preface, like I'm saying all the things that you guys feel like you can't say, like the fact that you even need to say that is crazy, right?
We're looking at each other like, don't you dare.
You guys are just all like, oh, connection lost. I gotta go. No, you're right, because the fact that we live in a time where everyone stands up for their truth and everyone fights for their rights and everyone's oppressed and everything's, everyone wants to be treated equally, but you are not allowed to speak up as men to say, hey, I'd like to have a mental health day. I'd like to practice self-care. You're not allowed to say those things.
Yeah, don't
because
you
if
have
you do,
enough,
it's toxic. Yes.
Mr. Man.
I hear that one a lot.
Yeah. What?
Don't you guys have had enough, or you have it all, or you have everything great? It's like you don't pay attention to anything, do you? Like,
no.
That's a very ignorant statement, but that's
Lord,
just part of the course for some people.
If someone ever decides to create a men's appreciation, not even a month, like a week, my God.
Right.
Everything will implode.
Did you guys see the posts last year from women saying that they should cancel Father's Day because men have had a bad year? There was an actual, like a very small movement where some lady who then admitted, by the way, that her husband and her father are actually good men. There for the kids. They support their kids. They are great role models. But because men in general have had a bad year, we should cancel Father's Day. It's like, you fucking...
It's already the least celebrated holiday.
Right.
It's like, that's one day, and you're talking about a week. Like,
that's terrible. And what?
I'm not making this up, by the way. I'm really not, I swear.
No, I believe you. This world's crazy. Yeah, Father's Day is like, okay, dads get to cook something on the grill. Like Mother's Day, which granted, I love Mother's Day, and I absolutely want to be pampered the entire day. I want people to do things for me. I don't want to cook a single meal, but I feel like it should be the same on Father's Day. And I feel like Father's Day is always just like a barbecue and dad cooks, you know? Like, I don't know. I'd definitely fight if people were trying to cancel Father's Day.
It's like, what's so wrong with celebrating, someone's accomplishments, someone's just being there for their family? Like, it just
right.
You give them a dinner.
Yeah.
Spend some time doing something fun. I mean, it doesn't have to be a bunch of hoopla, but just show that you actually appreciate something.
Right. And like Scott said, there's a lot of, families where the fathers aren't around. Like, can't we encourage the ones who are around? Like, hey, you're doing a good job. Thank you for that. That was real tough. Oh, I'm glad I didn't see that.
Yeah, I had some choice words that day. I'm not going to lie. I hide it well, but
yeah,
I really do curse like a sailor when I'm unfiltered. So
you're fine.
And you're on my network, man. You let it rip
right?
If you gotta.
Willie says we can say whatever we want.
I mean, if that's the case, then I might get myself in some serious trouble.
I'll give you your own show. You can just rant for 2 hours.
Do it.
My Twitch followers would love that because they already try to goad me into rants all the freaking time anyway. And that's just video games.
They probably know exactly what to say too.
Yes, they know my triggers well. But part of that's for show. I'm not going to lie, but on serious topics, yeah, I would probably get myself in trouble. But it's and the problem is, it's like on some level, you can never have a conversation about anything serious without offending somebody. Like, that's the nature of debate. That's the nature of discussion. Like, you cannot have that. Like, how do you have a conversation room full of 100 people and not offend one? Like, tell me how that's even possible, let alone 1,000, 10,000, so on and so forth. So when you have conversations like this, I think at some point, some people are going to have to be the first through the wall to take some of that heat to finally get other people to realize it's okay to say something. It's like that first person to stand up. I'm a huge fan of Dead Poet Society. Like, the first kid to stand up at the end of the movie is like getting screamed at and threatened. And then all of a sudden the next kid stands up and the next kid stands up. I think it's the same idea here. I think the first place to start is each and every person has to not just say that it's okay, but they have to show it and model it to the people that's important to their life. Like, one of the things I always do with kids that I work with, and I'm sorry if I'm like taking over your show, so just tell me to shut up if I am.
Nope.
But one of the things that I always tell kids, it's like, you know what? Tell me what you know about Superman. Well, he's invincible, he's unstoppable, he's got strength, he's got speed. Great. Well, then tell me, if he's so unbeatable, why does he have a Justice League? And it's like, it just starts the conversation of, it's like, you know what? It's even the strongest of people sometimes need a team to help them out, and that's not a bad thing. You do the same with the Incredible Hulk and so on and so forth. It's because you have to show them real world examples or real life examples of times where it is okay to do that. And we have to model and show them that that's okay. So the first thing I always do when I work with an at-risk youth is I honestly cuss right in front of them. This has gotten me in trouble, so I don't necessarily recommend it. But the reason why is because as soon as I do it, the first thing I do is apologize. And then every time I train new therapists, they're always asking, why do you do that? I'm like, because I'm admitting, number one, that I'm infallible, that I can make mistakes. I'm going to screw up. So I'm not perfect, and I'm not going to tell you that I'm perfect, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm perfect. And I'm also going to own up to when I screw up, and I'm going to ask your forgiveness for it. Those are 3 crucial things I'm modeling from the first moment I walk in the door, because as a male, I know I have to do that because I'm working primarily with other boys, 9 times out of 10 who don't have a father or any other male role model in the picture. So it's like, it's very calculated. And yes, some parents have complained, but the vast majority, it's like they start laughing like, oh, it's okay. I said worse like 5 minutes ago. You're fine.
Right.
And the kid's dropping some F-bombs. It's like, well, that's not uncommon to their household. Like, that just happens. But I think that's the kind of thing that we need to do just on a bigger level, and not just guys, not just women, but we all have to be doing it. So we can't, it's not enough to just say it. We have to actually do it and show it and model it and be role models for people that are watching that we don't necessarily realize are watching, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes a ton of sense. So I constantly struggle with raising my boys. I try to do my best, and I really hope that I am. But what do you suggest for parents then to do when raising boys, just about mental health in general?
Me specifically, or all of us, because I don't
You.
want to dominate the conversation.
You're the one that works in the field.
Okay. So the first thing I always do is it really depends on if there's a dad in the picture or a stepdad. And like I said, the vast majority of the kids I'm working with, that's not the case. Or if it is, they're not exactly a healthy person. So usually what I see is with a single mother situation, the kid is usually very aggressive and angry towards women specifically. And part of it is helping the parents understand that anger is not geared towards them. The anger is geared towards somebody who can't be there. They can't direct it at the person who deserves it. And the kid on some fundamental level knows that, but you're the parent who's there. So number one, I would tell parents, don't get so wrapped up into the anger and the defiance so much as it's not something personal to you as much as it is to your role and the role that's not there that they want to rebel against. Beyond that, it's giving your kid the license to be like, if they're not okay, it's okay not to be okay. Like that's just a first thing you should tell them. It's okay not to be okay. You need a break. You need this, you need that. I know a lot of clinicians that I work with, case managers, get really frustrated because they have these kids with behavioral problems and they don't realize the reason they're having these problems is because all the trauma this poor kid has been through. This kid's been through a whole bunch of shit and they're not making the connection of why that's happening. And a lot of parents don't make that connection too. So it's that realization of giving him the space to be upset and be angry and telling him it's okay to be upset and angry, but here's what you do with it that's going to be a way that's not going to destroy you or somebody else. And let me give you some examples and let me show you how to do it. It's just immediate reaction of, no, we have to get into this power battle of who's right. Well, don't get into the power battle. Get to you want to be upset. It's okay to be upset. You are allowed to be angry as you want, but here's what you're not allowed to do is X, Y, and Z. So here are some other things you can do instead. And just constantly practice and practice and practice until it's just that much, your kid just automatically does it. Now, it sounds a lot easier to do that than it is, but that's why the parents need the practice and the support too. Majority of your work and the hardest part of working with kids is always the parents.
Yeah.
Like there are some kids out there that are just really horribly nasty kids, but a lot of times you just got to look as far as the parents to see what the truth is. And you can see the kid is modeling a lot of the things that the parents are doing. So a lot of times it's helping them realize how their own relationships are impacting the kid. You got a mom and dad that are screaming at each other constantly. Well, remember, you have an audience, whether you realize it or not. You need to be united in front of the kid and argue when the kid's not home or whatever the case may be. Like, and again, there's a whole bunch of things that I'm throwing out there, but those are the big things: is be self-aware, be aware of your audience, model what you want them to see, give them license to be upset, but give them the parameters of how they need to show being upset. And don't take it personal. It's not personal. It's behavior shit. It just happens. Like we all go through it. Right. Rebellion is part of growing up. It's not personal.
Okay.
So I hope that answers. I'm sorry to go so long.
No, you're fine. Follow-up question for the rest of you. Since all of you talked about upbringing, what is it that you wish you had?
Just the ability to have more open conversations about what was actually going on in my head or just in my daily routines, school, anything like that. Like I said, my mom was, she I guess I could say that she kind of just coddled me a little bit too much when it came to certain things. I didn't really pick up a lot of things because I didn't have to. It was just given to me. And Dad was kind of rough and just, he loved me obviously, but he was just disciplinarian and just, man up, do what you got to do, go home, kind of a thing. So I don't know. And I feel like I also have an older sister. She's 3 years older than me. And I kind of felt a little overshadowed by her in many ways because she was, the model student. She was good at everything that she tried to do. And then it's just me being the, crazy prankster and whatever else that I was trying to be to just try to get some sort of attention away from her to me. I don't know. I just wish there was a lot more openness and willingness to talk about what I had going on.
That's fair. Tommy?
I'm gonna go definitely with open conversation. Like he said, that would have been huge. love would have been really nice, you know. Pretty much all the things like a kid yearns for, I would have totally dug, you know. A lot. I would have liked a lot more. I just my childhood was really bad, so there's a big list of shit I would have liked, you know. But you know, love and being protected, I guess, you know. That
Yeah.
yeah.
John.
Oh yeah, I'm in a similar situation as Wolver. My mom was, you know, very kind, coddling type, and my dad was the one that would crack down real hard. I've always compared him to Red Foreman from that '70s show, if anybody's familiar. And don't get me wrong, love it. I love the way that he raised me, because at the end of the day, it did shape and mold me into the guy I am today. And to be honest, to kind of answer this question, I really don't think, just from hearing everybody's responses, right? I don't think it matters entirely too much on how you're raised. Men are always at some point going to come up to adversity and struggle with the mental health. So no matter how you're raised. So I think just raising your sons to a point where they know that they can come to you or to anybody, making it the cultural norm for them to be able to go up and talk to someone about their feelings and not holding it in, I think would go a long ways. I don't know if that answers the question.
I mean, you're right that it doesn't matter how you're raised, you're going to be faced with the adversity. But at the same time, I think that we could be working to give our kids the skills that they need to cope with it.
Yeah, we could have a better jumping off point.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I, first of all, catch a lot of shit because I have never been the parent to sit here and let my kids win at Candyland, right? I will beat them, and I will not only beat them, but I will point in their face and say, "Ha, I beat you."
Pick up the board.
Right. Right. And it sounds crazy, but also my children are so well-rounded because they know what it means to lose, and they know that we'll just play another game and it'll be fine, and they have a chance to win next time. You know what I mean? And I also am there if they need anything, you know, and my kids have no problem telling me like, "Oh, I'm just having a really hard day. I'm angry, but I can't figure out why." You know, so I know that they're going to go out there into the world and they're going to face these issues, but I hope that they can go out there and say, you know, my mom taught me, maybe not, they're not going to say it out loud, but they're going to remember, my mom taught me that it's okay to lose and I'll just bounce back. You know what I mean? There's no getting around the adversity. Unfortunately, I don't see it changing anytime soon. But I think that we just need to give our kids a strong self-confidence. I know that was something that was extremely lacking for me as a child, and it led to a lot of problems. And it wasn't until I was married and had more than one child that I finally came around and was like, hey, I might deserve to be happy, you know? So I think that self-confidence is a huge thing that needs to be taught to our sons so that when they go out in the world and the world is telling them, you're a piece of shit, you're toxic, you're all these things, that they will know that they're not. Scott has a question. Scott says, why can't we show our emotions? Will I offend someone? Will I hurt someone's feelings? How do I show my feelings without being destructive towards others? These are questions that go through my brain. I just want to say thanks to each of you men for doing this. I think that we also need to get past the point of worrying about offending somebody. I really wish that we could get past that. I grew up in a time where not everybody got a trophy. And if you were offended by that, then you worked harder to get one next year. There wasn't all of this I don't know. I guess I just don't remember people being so offended by every single thing that every single person says. And I really, really miss those days. I'm sure you guys could agree.
And it's more and more like recent. Even when I was in high school, I graduated in 2008, and we had like track and field, for instance. I threw shot and disc. I don't want to be on the same level of the podium as 16 other guys who were just throwing shot and disc when I worked my ass off to be able to throw something farther than them. You know what I mean? And it's just you don't want to say that like everything is just too soft or whatever else, but there's people have got to learn somewhere.
Right. I missed Sam's comment. She said, piggybacking, what's everyone's thoughts on how we should move forward with the upcoming generations in holding this inclusive ideal? I asked
kind of
that.
Did that.
We're on the same page, lady. Yeah, it's super important.
Real quick, going back to what we were talking about before you looked at that comment, it's I think part of it, and again, this is my personal opinion, is I think we have too much focus on equal outcomes and not equal opportunity. And I think that's creating a bigger headache because you can't have equality of outcomes. It's impossible. Some people are born short, some people are grown tall, and so on and so forth. Like you can't, but that's what everyone's pushing for. So to be successful is immediately offensive to somebody because you got something you didn't deserve, even though you worked hard to do that. Like you hear that about rich people all the time. Well, they're rich because they stole all that money. Really? Where did they steal it? Like, I don't remember seeing that, but it's that automatic assumption that because this person did this or achieved this or has this, therefore they're evil. It's like, that's the mathematics that some people are doing in their head for reasons I can't begin to fathom. And I think I love your idea of we have to get away with being offended because there's no way you're not going to offend somebody. Like that was the point I was trying to get at before. Like there's no way you can't. So you can either spend your entire life like running to the whims of what's going to offend somebody, or you just say screw it and I'm going to try to do the best I can to make myself like at least function, if not necessarily happy.
Yeah.
So the only way you could even try to avoid to offend someone is basically just to become a hermit, and even then someone's going to get offended because you didn't come outside.
Right.
Well, and I think you were seeing the consequences of that too, because look at all the anger and all the vitriol and the violence and everything else that's breaking out there. If you have people that are constantly like pushing down what they want to say or what they want to feel or all that other stuff, it's going to come out eventually. Like people are like volcanoes. It's like that volcano might only erupt once every 100 years, but that doesn't mean it's not sitting there not doing shit for that 100 years that it's waiting. It's like all that stuff, all those emotions are building and building and building. And eventually that eruption is going to do some serious damage. Someone's going to get hurt. It's like you can either deal with some people are just going to get butt hurt and grow up and deal with it because that's life. Yeah. Or you're going to risk more of these people going off and getting violent and God knows hurting people and killing people and everything else.
Yeah.
See, that's what I feel like. That whole term toxic, that's what I feel is toxic. Just not giving men in particular for this conversation, but anyone the chance to actually do more for themselves, or not giving anyone the chance to exist without some people having to come down upon them. Like that's what's toxic, and that leads to the bottling everything up, and then that leads to those ultimate outcomes that we didn't want in the first place, but then that's toxic.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like you're screwed no matter what you do.
Yep. And I don't think that, like, why is person A being offended more important than person B talking about their feelings? Like, so by person A being butthurt, person B now they're not allowed to have feelings. They're not allowed to have opinions. They're not allowed to have anything other than shut up because you're going to offend that person. And I don't think that's fair. Again, it's not equality. No matter what the topic, no matter who person A is and person B is.
Well, and then you have another segment that are starting to say, if you say something different, that's violent. just because you have a different opinion or you have a different feelings. It's like, what are you smoking? Like, where is that coming from? And I don't know if it's just like the dumbest people are the loudest. I don't know. Maybe
it is. Yeah,
but
it is.
It's
that's another growing thing.
Yeah. Do you remember years ago when they did a televised version of The Wiz on TV?
Yeah, I remember that.
No.
Can you listen here? Okay, so after that came out, not even saying that there wasn't a film years ago, but because they did it on TV, you had people literally on Twitter the hour after it premiered saying, well, this is just stupid. Why would they do this to a classic? Why do we need to have an all black version of The Wizard of Oz? We need to make an all white version of The Wiz. It's like,
did they forget the part where that was like already a movie?
Did you forget The Wizard of fucking Oz?
Oh, that's true too. All right, Ray says, my father was abused physically and mentally by his stepfather. He did not continue the cycle. He was a loving father. I really lucked out with that. I often wonder where my depression and anxiety issues can't come from. Am I just screwed up? It's okay to not be okay, like Scott said, is all I got. And make sure my daughters understand this. They see me openly discussing my feelings and show love and sadness and all the emotions. That's super important. And kudos to your dad for being a cycle breaker, because a lot of times that carries over and, people treat their children the way they were treated, even though it made them fucked up. I don't know.
Actually, you would be surprised. The numbers show that the majority actually turn out to be very loving parents. There's things they struggle at, yes, but for the most part, they don't necessarily become violent. Like you are not doomed to a fate just because you had a parent that did X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
And anxiety and depression does have some genetic link to it. Yes, it's true that does happen. However, you have to look at the nature of what actually is a mental health disorder. To be a disorder, it has to cause enough significant impact in your life to not live the life that you want to live, to actually cause you distress. To some level, and this is why I think a lot of people get really confused with mental health. Mental health isn't about curing something, because you're not deathly ill just because you have anxiety or because you have depression. Those things are inherent and built in human nature because they're needed. Anxiety was a way back for our ancestors to know that there is a threat, and therefore they need to take care of that. They need to do stuff. Like that's a survival instinct. That's not bad to have that. What causes the distress is when that becomes overpowering and starts taking over more and more of your life to the point that you can't control it. That's where the issue comes. So it's not about not having anxiety and depression. It's about what can I do to alleviate it, manage it, and not let it take over so I can still function and do things that I want to do. Because some of that is, you are born with it because you're a human being. We all are. That's the trick. And that's the thing you've always got to remember with mental health. It's you're not sick that you need to be cured. You need to build yourself up so that way you have some resilience and you have some ways to just get through and help you manage and live your life. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the best any of us can do. And that's still a very empowering thing. So that's, I don't know, that's just my 2 cents on that.
So, Scott, I know that this is going to be a sideways question because it is your profession, but what can people do if they don't have an amazing support system like Tommy and they are too scared or too intimidated to go seek professional help? Are there first things? Go ahead.
There are, but the first question I would ask him is, how does evolution happen? Why do living things actually evolve? The reason why is because life becomes unbearable and unsurvivable, so you have to change and adapt in order to survive. So the people who have that, you have to look at it as you have to go through something uncomfortable and make an uncomfortable change in order to evolve yourself. That's why I hate the word change. I always use the word evolve. Evolve is like the best word to use because evolve is like major power, in my personal opinion. So you have to look at it as if you don't have a support group, you need to go out and find one. You need to find something that you're interested in and put yourself in a position to be around those people. Like one of the reasons why I love the paranormal field, which I think most of us, if not all of us, are involved in some way, shape, or form, is it is a very tight-knit family. Like you get in and everybody knows everybody and everyone gets along with everybody for the most part, with some exceptions. So it's like, I was the weird kid who was into the shit in high school, and I barely ever talked about it because everyone thought I was a freak when I would talk about it. But as soon as I got out of high school and got into college, boom, suddenly I found a group, and I've been off and running ever since. But you have to put yourself in a position to go out there and find them. You have to put yourself out there to risk evolving, because if you don't, doing nothing is also a choice. And doing nothing doesn't change anything because you've already been living with nothing. Like you know what that's like. And a lot of people don't want to do it because of fear of the unknown, but the unknown is where you also find the best treasure. So that's the first thing is resolve yourself to that mindset of you have to try and change something. What are some ways you can reach out to find people to do that? Where do you find people that have various interests? Well, there's websites. I forget there's one that was recommended where you actually look for different groups that have all sorts of different hobbies. You can hook up meetups. It'll even like geo region it to where you live, and will pair you up with groups that are looking for the people to join.
That's
cool. Like hiking, boating, kayaking, like all sorts of stuff. If I remember the name of it, I'll message you. You can put it out later. Okay. But that's a way you could do that. The other part of it is if you don't have a good support system, then it's on you to go out and find help as well. Like there are mental health providers, and yes, some therapists suck. I know some of them. I've worked with some of them. I've fired some of them. So I know they're out there, but you have to find someone that has that personality that you click with, that is the person that you're supposed to work with. And that sometimes takes a little time to find that, and that's okay. Don't try something once and then give up. That's the worst mistake people make. Sometimes it takes 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. And sometimes you have to change it up a little bit. Don't think that because an idea is not working right away that it's not working. We have like this really like immediate mentality. Evolution happens over a long span of time. So you have to look at yourself the same way. The goal is you want to run a marathon, not a sprint. So it's also being patient with yourself when you're not getting where you want to go as fast as you want to go it, and realizing that that's okay. And again, sorry, I can keep going, and I don't want to again take more of your show than I already have.
But the other thing that is super important for people to understand is that drugs and alcohol are not the answer ever. I mean, there's an argument for marijuana, but we're not going to talk about that. I'm just saying, if you're drinking every day and you're still depressed every day, then maybe that's not cutting it. And you know, Tommy talked about AA not being his thing. I know a lot of people that have been in that situation because AA is very like God-centered and all this other stuff. And it's not,
definitely weird.
Yeah.
We're not used to it. I've been to a few meetings too. Like it's definitely an interesting experience.
Yeah. There's plenty of other resources out there for that as well. You know, we live in a time where there's literally an app for everything. And I've been seeing a lot of advertisements for apps that are like for talking to a therapist. And that's why I wanted to ask you about it, because I don't know, is it just like some narcissist on the other end of the phone? Like, you know, I don't know if there's any like reputable ones out there.
There are, and I can get you some links to some people if you want, and some referrals for agencies that have, even if I haven't worked for them or know them personally, have a good reputation, and they're all over the place. One of the benefits of at least being in the Cleveland and greater Northeast Ohio is we're like the healthcare center. Like, so there's a lot of good ones. There's also some bad ones, but there's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of ways to get help. You have to be willing to do it and not beat yourself up. Because remember, even Superman has a Justice League. So like even he needs help, and he's not even real. He's got the benefit of writers to do shit for him, but even he needs help. So
I like that. And it's not, I don't know. First of all, if you go to see somebody, it's not like it's plastered on the news, people. I mean, it's not like there's a public announcement made. Like, it's not a big deal. You just call your insurance company, tell them what's going on, and then you go talk to somebody. And it's so nice. It's so nice to just go talk to somebody who doesn't know your ex-wife. So she's not going to be taking her side, or, you know what I mean? It's just nice to go and talk to somebody, and that doesn't make you a weak person. It makes you so fucking strong that you were able to take everything that was handed to you and all of these emotions and all of the talk from people who told you to man up, and you are stronger than that, and you are doing what you need to do to be a better person. And that's amazing, and that's commendable.
John's
like fucking
going on a journey.
No, I'm good.
Sorry, I tend to miss comments. Ray said, yeah, my dad was anything. My dad is what? Was afraid to be hard on us. If anything. He hit me one time and immediately broke down. And I agree, Scott. I'm on call with a therapist and take my meds. It's
good for you.
I mean, seriously.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's the strong thing to do. Like the weak thing is to go, to cave to peer pressure and to not do anything. But for you to stand up and say, I'm better than this and I deserve more than this. I deserve more than feeling shitty all the time. And I don't care what you say because you have no power over me. And going and talking to somebody, I feel like that's the stronger thing to do. And I wish people understood that.
There's only so far that your hobbies or substances, there's only so far that those things can take you. And regardless of what it is, it's ultimately a crutch. You have to be able to go out and lay it all out there for someone, doesn't matter who it is, and just let it out.
Yeah.
And remember, your therapists have the same confidentiality restrictions as any doctor you go to. Same exact rules apply. We're not even allowed to, like, if I were to be a counselor for somebody, we were to run into each other at a store, I can't even acknowledge you exist. If we want to have a conversation, you've got to come up to me and start it. Like, that's how strict our rules are for confidentiality and protecting client privacy. Right. And that's happened to me before. Like, I've had people that I've run into and they get really upset. Like, why did you ignore me? Why didn't you wave? It's like, oh, I'm not allowed to. I could lose my license. So there's a lot of confidentiality, a lot of protection if that's something that people out there are afraid of. And the field is very strict about it.
That's good. That is good to know. And the other thing, like Tommy was talking about, he doesn't want to call people because he feels like he's a burden. Obviously that person took that job because they wanted people to talk to them about their problem. I mean, and also you're paying them. So it's not like you're a burden. That's what they're there for. Literally their job.
And we all choose this field for a very good reason. No one gets into this field because you want to make money. Trust me, you don't. I can speak from experience on that. You don't make shit. But yeah, everybody who gets here usually has some kind of experience, or either themselves or with a loved one. Like the vast majority of people you're going to deal with want to be there to do that. That's why they chose it. Right. And Sam's right. You have to be honest with them and yourselves for anything to improve. That's 100% true as well. And that's also the hardest part, in my opinion. Is to get people to be honest, or just to be honest? To be honest with themselves. Yeah. Because the one universal thing is truth hurts, and it's hard to face that. And then you got to deal with the guilt and the shame, but you're not going to get past it if you can't stand up to it.
Yeah, you have to acknowledge that there's an issue to begin with. Right. And that's a good starting point. That's the basis of any of it, is just to admit it to yourself that there's something going on, and that's when the hard work starts. Yep. And I feel like, especially for men, you're taught to always be super strong, and admitting that you need help, I would imagine, is very hard. I mean, it's hard for me, and I'm a woman. I'm allowed to need help. So I would imagine that admitting that you needed help would be hard. But again, it's so strong. I feel like it's such a brave thing to do. Silence.
Right. But yeah, I would like to apologize because I did not realize it is 9:30. And speaking of bravery, I would like to thank all of you for coming on, because it was super brave. And even if it helps one person to understand that they are not alone and that they are not the only one experiencing those things, it means the world to me that you guys are here. And I love you all. And I thank you so much for coming on. Thank you to everyone in the comments and everybody watching. We will definitely be doing this again. Because this is fantastic, getting all of your opinions was great. If anybody has anything last minute that they would like to say, go ahead. Scott's like, I talked enough. He's like,
I feel really bad that I've talked so much. I really do. So I am sorry.
That was the point of the show.
No, it was super insightful to hear
Absolutely.
what you had to say. Like things that you were saying have helped me tonight. So
yeah. And that's exactly why I wanted to have Scott specifically, because he's got both sides of it. You know, he's in the field and he's a male, so it's perfect.
And he won't shut up.
and he talks a lot. It's great.
I'm all for a monthly men check-in.
I'm gonna do it. Williver, hold me to it. You're my boss.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. And I will talk to you guys all next week. Yeah. All right. Steve, Becca, where were you?
It's on demand.
Yeah,
Go
you could watch the replay. But all right, guys, thank you so much. I will talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.